Hello and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to another session of economy this week, wherein we are going to cover important economy-related articles from different newspapers. In today's session, I'll be covering the time period from 16th to 22nd October, and this is a list of the articles that I'll be taking up for the discussion. The discussion will be comprehensive in order to help you answer the questions not only in the prelims but also in the mains examination. If you are liking this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button, and if you yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Before I start the discussion, I have two very important announcements. The first one, the best way to judge whether your preparations are on the right track or not is to attempt test. Now, this Sunday, that is 26th October, the Unacademy is conducting Unacademy's Civil Services Championship. The test will be held in two slots, 11 as well as 5 p.m. Register for the test, attempt the test to get all India ranking instantly after the test is over, and moreover, if you score very well, you can also win multiple prizes. Do not miss out this opportunity. Register for the test using the link provided in the description below. Now, second very important announcement is I'm pretty sure all of you are worried about what to write in the context of the hobby column in the examination form. In addition to this, some of you are interested in learning foreign languages in addition to the Indian languages that you have already learned. Here is an app launched by the Unacademy, Airlearn app. Using this particular app, you can learn more than 20 foreign languages. Download this particular app, use the app to learn other languages as well. Now, let me start the discussion. The first very important article, China challenges India at World Trade Organization. What are the important points? Let me explain them one by one. The government of India has launched multiple initiatives in the past to promote production as well as the adoption and consumption of electric vehicles. For example, there is an initiative called as FAME 1 initiative, then there was FAME 2 initiative, and in recent times, the government of India has launched production linked incentives as well, which are going to promote production of certain components associated with electric vehicles. For example, there is a PLI, Advanced Chemical Cell. There is a PLI for automobiles. In addition to this, the government of India has also launched the National EV Passenger Production Initiative. So you see, the government of India has been promoting these initiatives as a part of the drive to achieve net zero emissions by 2070. Now, the government of China has contested that the government of India, by providing these kind of incentives, is violating the provisions under WTO, World Trade Organization. And stating this, it has approached WTO, that is specifically under WTO, the dispute resolution body or dispute settlement body, and it has filed a complaint seeking the consultations with government of India. Now, what is the contest or what is the allegations are done by the Chinese government here? Listen to me very carefully. The allegation is simple. The government of India has launched an initiative by the name of PLI. Out of more than 10 sectors which have been covered, one sector is a PLI ACC, that is basically for promotion of production of batteries which will be used in automobiles. There's a PLI for automobiles as well. But the important point to note here is under PLI, the government of India has announced certain incentives. The cash incentives will be provided. But for the companies to avail the incentives, they will have to meet certain conditions. For example, the most important condition is the procurement from the domestic market. Procurement from the domestic market. What does it actually mean? Let's say I'm a manufacturer, I'm covered under PLI. If I want to get the cash incentives announced by the government under PLI, some of the procurement that I do while producing the goods, I will have to procure it from the domestic market. Now, whether this is produced by an Indian company, foreign company, doesn't matter. I should have procured it from the domestic market. And if I meet this particular condition of domestic procurement only and only then, I'll become eligible, even though I'm covered, I'll become eligible to get the incentives in that particular year from the government of India. The government of China basically alleges that these kind of conditions are violative of certain agreements that government of India has signed under WTO and violative of certain principles. What are these agreements? For example, India is a signatory of TRIMS, trade related investment measures. India is a signatory of GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. India is a signatory of the subsidies and countervailing measures. There are certain important principles which are associated with these agreements. The most important principle which has been cited by the government of China in this context is national treatment. National treatment. Now, what is this principle of a national treatment? Let me explain this. Let's say there is an import which has come into India and there is a product which has been manufactured in the domestic market. The government of India shall not formulate a policy in favor of the one that is produced in the domestic market and against, targeted against a imported product. In simple terms, whether it is imported or domestically produced, the policy shall treat both of them one and the same way. There shall not be any kind of a discrimination. But now, when you apply the same national treatment in the context of PLI, let's assume a component is imported from China by a company, and let's say the same component is manufactured in the domestic market. The companies which are covered under PLI will be able to get incentives only when they procure the domestically produced component, not when they import it from China. This Chinese government basically says is violation of national treatment principle under WTO under multiple agreements to which India or for which India is a signatory country. Now, what is the solution to this? What is the way forward? Listen to me very carefully. Whenever any country approaches WTO, files a complaint, the initial step is consultations. Right? The first stage is consultations. Now, government of India has to hold consultations with the Chinese officials, convey to them what is the importance of this initiative, why PLI is not targeting or is not discriminating against the Chinese imports. Generally, one argument that the member countries use is infant industry argument. Infant industry argument. And what is this infant industry argument? The government of India will have to convey to the Chinese government that the policy which has been announced by the government is basically to promote production in the industry or particular sector which is competitive in the global market. They want to make it competitive in the global market. And one more argument within the infant industry is that the government of India has to communicate to the Chinese government that these policies are temporary in nature. These are not going to be provided, incentives are not going to be provided till perpetuity. So generally, whenever infant industry argument is made, certain conditions will have to be met. For example, whether the incentives are given till perpetuity or temporary, whether the industry has a potential to grow and become globally competitive or not. These are some of the arguments which are put forward in order to accept the infant industry argument. This is exactly what the government of India has to do in the coming days when they hold consultations with the Chinese authorities. If the Chinese authorities are not satisfied with the argument, now the application will be accepted in the dispute settlement body. A panel shall be set up to investigate the argument which has been put forward by the Chinese authorities. So, this is basically the discussion that has been happening in the context of China challenging India at World Trade Organization. Now, based on this discussion, let's solve an MCQ. If you're interested to solve this question on your own, pause the video, solve the question, and then look at the discussion. If not, do not pause. Let's continue. India is a signatory of which of the following agreements? General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade 1994. I know some of you might be thinking, but sir, I read GATT is 1948. I read GATT 1948, but you have written GATT 1994. Is there any difference? Please understand. The After the Second World War, the countries around the world have come together and they basically signed an agreement called as GATT. But the GATT is a very narrow agreement. In simple terms, GATT doesn't cover all the goods and services which are traded in the international market. And to be very fair, initially the discussion was not to have GATT, it was to have International Trade Organization. And because there was no consensus, we had to have a temporary arrangement by the name of GATT 1948. Later, when the discussions for the World Trade Organizations began, we had a GATT of 1994. India is a signatory, by the way. Agreement on subsidies and countervailing measures? Yes. Trade related investment measures? Yes. All the three are agreements where India is a signatory. Hence, the right option will be option C, all the three. Let me go to the next article now. Industry at sea over carbon levy decision. What are the important points here? Please listen to me very carefully. Earlier, there is an agreement called as Paris Climate Agreement. Paris Climate Agreement. Under Paris Climate Agreement, the discussion was held, agreements were signed, which have been implemented for more than 9 years now, and the argument was very simple. We have to reduce the emissions. We have to ensure the global average temperature do not cross or doesn't cross beyond certain threshold limit. But one very important point to note in the context of Paris Climate Agreement is the civil aviation emissions were not covered under this. Please remember this. The civil aviation emissions were not covered under this. And the same is applicable for the sea emissions or shipping emissions. Now, in the context of shipping emissions, listen to me carefully now. There is an authority, International Maritime Organization, IMO, which functions under World Trade Organization. This particular entity, IMO, this year has announced IMO Net Zero Framework. A Net Zero Framework. What is this Net Zero Framework? There is a concept called as MARPOL. Please remember this particular terminology as well. It is basically referring to International Convention for Prevention of Pollution from Ships, MARPOL. Under MARPOL, in this year, April 2025, there was a new chapter that was added. And this particular new chapter under MARPOL is IMO Net Zero Framework. Now, what is the importance of this particular chapter? The objective under this is the member countries should come together, and there is a lot of emission that is contributed through shipping. On the global level, around 5 to 6% of the total emissions in the global market are because of shipping activity. So, in addition to covering the civil aviation emissions now, we want to cover emissions which are caused because of the shipping activity as well. And that is where the Net Zero Framework of International Maritime Organization will come into picture. It comprises of various regulations which are aimed at reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. Please remember that. And there are two components to this particular Net Zero Framework. One is the standards which will be followed for supplying the global fuel which will be used by shipping companies. And the second is the global GHG pricing mechanism. That is just like we have pricing mechanism for carbon, there is a global GHG pricing mechanism also which has been discussed. Now, why this is there in the newspaper? On one side, in the month of April, the new framework, or let's say this particular framework was proposed by IMO, and on the other side, the country USA, United States of America, threatened that any particular country which is conducting trade, which has relations with USA, approves of this particular framework, it will be targeted by USA. I'll repeat the statement by the way. The government of USA did not accept this. They argue that this is a global carbon tax. And their argument is this is not acceptable, right? Because they want to promote global trade now. It will be targeting the major USA companies, etc. So they threaten that any country which will be part of the net zero framework proposed by IMO and approves this, it would be targeted or sanctioned by the government of USA. What kind of sanctions? The USA government threatened to impose restrictions over visa, restrictions over the shipping, or let's say the ships which are registered with these particular countries, they will not be allowed to port in the USA, etc. In fact, they threatened that even certain officials might be targeted from these particular countries. So the argument is very simple. On one side, IMO is proposing a net zero framework, and on the other side, USA is threatening the countries from accepting this particular framework. And that is a precise reason a session was supposed to be held and approvals were supposed to be given for the implementation of net zero framework. Now these particular approvals, or let's say the discussion as well as the approval, the process has been postponed to 2026. India was one of the countries participating in this particular special meeting, and it has voted in favor of postponing the discussion as well as voting regarding the net zero framework. So these are certain very important points associated with the net zero framework here. In addition to this, once the net zero framework will come into force, there will be certain pressure on the shipping companies. They will have to shift to certain other types of fuels. They will have to adopt certain measures to reduce emissions, etc., which will put a lot of financial burden on the shipping companies. And they would require a lot of financial assistance. They would need a lot of financial assistance. And that's the reason the government of India has already announced that once these reforms will come into force, the government will be providing financial assistance to the extent of around $100 million to these shipping companies in order to overcome the financial burden. And not only this, the government of India has also announced three major ports under its ownership as green hydrogen hubs. Please make a note of this. The green hydrogen hubs under National Green Hydrogen Mission. The three ports which have been declared as green hydrogen hubs are: 1. Deen Dayal Port Authority present in Gujarat, VO Chidambaranar Port Authority in Tamil Nadu, Paradip Port Authority from Odisha. So these particular major ports which are owned by the central government have been declared as national or green hydrogen hubs under National Green Hydrogen Mission. These are all the important points. Please make a note of this. And when I say note, not physically making a note on this. After the session is over, after the session is uploaded on the YouTube, please go to the description part of the video. There will be a link that is titled as Indian Economy Repository link. Click on the link, you'll be taken to a Google Sheet. In the Google Sheet, all the links of the PPTs as well as the notes of the economy this week will be uploaded. Click on the link, download, and more importantly, use it for revision. Now let me go forward. Let's solve one more MCQ here. Consider the following statements. The IMO functions under World Trade Organization. Incorrect. United Nations. The Paris Climate Agreement does have explicit provisions or regulate shipping emissions. Incorrect. The global shipping industry accounts for over 10% of the total emissions. Incorrect. Around 5 to 6%. All the three are incorrect. Right option for the question will be D, none of the statements. Let me go forward. Next article. EU nations agree to pull plug on Russian gas by end of 2027. Now, what are the important points? Listen to me very carefully. Point number 1. Russia attacked Ukraine. It's been multiple years since the war has been going on. The contention of USA is that the other countries are purchasing fuel from Russia. The fuel could be in the form of LNG. The fuel could be in the form of, let's say crude. So other countries are purchasing fuel from Russia. Russia is able to use the money that they've collected to finance war. Simple. Russia is collecting money by selling fuel in the global market, and this money they are basically using it to finance war. So if you want to stop the war that is happening between Russia and Ukraine, you have to close the tap. Close the tap in this particular sense means ensure that money is not available for financing the war for Russia. And if you want to ensure finances are not available for Russia, cut the amount of money they are able to collect by selling the fuel in the international market. So, from this particular viewpoint, the government of USA has been pressurizing multiple countries. For example, in recent times, the president of USA, Mr. Trump, has been announcing without any support from the government of India. He has been announcing that India has accepted not to buy any crude from Russia, despite repeated announcements or repeated clarifications from the government of India, which has stated that we are basically looking at diversification of our imports of crude oil, and any country which will supply to us at a lower price we will be purchasing from them, because our objective is price stability, supporting or protecting the interest in the domestic market. So argument is the government of USA has been pressurizing the countries such as India, such as European Union countries to lower the import of crude oil or energy imports from Russia. And finally, it seems that the pressure has paid off. Why? The European Union now has announced that they will be stopping the imports of LNG, liquefied natural gas, from Russia by 2027. By the end of 2027, they will be stopping the LNG imports. Now, all the countries are not on board. Some of the countries have opposed it. For example, Slovakia, their argument is if I basically cut the imports on which I have very high import dependence, where is the alternative for me? There are no alternatives. So some of the countries have opposed it, but European Commission has already announced that by end of 2027 they'll be weaning out the import dependence on LNG from Russia. But having said so, please understand what is the importance of LNG imports by Russia or from Russia to European Union. More than 40% of LNG imports into European Union go from USA. USA is the top LNG exporter. From Russia, around 15% essentially are exported to European Union. Now, if European Commission or European Union stops importing from Russia, it will provide a higher level playing field for USA to export more and more. And this is not the first time that the European Union has taken such a measure. Earlier, back in the year 2022, the European Union had also announced Repower EU, Repower EU, wherein the European Union basically stated that they would diversify the fuel imports from other countries and lean away from Russia. So these are certain very important points, right? Please have a look at the article again. Let me go forward. Next article. RBI pushes to expand a rupee settlement with partners. The government of India as well as the Reserve Bank of India have been promoting rupee internationalization. And what is the basic idea for rupee internationalization? It simply means rupee will be used for conducting transactions outside India as well. Just like today, we use a dollar for conducting transactions, settling the debt, etc. in the global market. Rupee, anyways, is the domestic currency for us. We will have to use rupee. But outside India also, for conducting transaction, rupee shall be utilized just like other freely convertible currencies, for example, USA. That is basically the concept of rupee internationalization. And in order to promote rupee internationalization, Reserve Bank of India very recently has taken certain important measures. And that is what is being discussed in the article here. What are the important measures which the RBI has announced in recent times? One, in the recently concluded, that is October monetary policy, October 2025 monetary policy, the Reserve Bank of India has announced that rupee will be provided, rupee loans will be provided even to the non-resident Indians, even to the non-resident Indians who are from Bhutan, Sri Lanka and Nepal. Sri Lanka and Nepal. So rupee loans will be provided for settling transactions even to the non-resident Indians coming from Bhutan, Sri Lanka and Nepal. Second very important announcement is that there is a system called as Ostro account. if you have lot of money, surplus funds in the Vostro account, rupee denominated Vostro account, now the Reserve Bank of India has relaxed the regulations. You can basically use the surplus funds which are sitting in the Vostro account, that is in the rupee form, to invest in the commercial papers in India, the commercial papers in India, as well as bonds. Right? You can invest in commercial papers as well as bonds. And what is the use of this? Just think of this. More relaxations announced by Reserve Bank of India, it will basically help the investors or the people who hold rupee to invest in the Indian market. They will not be hesitant in holding these particular rupees. Otherwise, one of the biggest issue in order to promote rupee internationalization has been the issue of convertibility. Please remember this issue of convertibility, that is in the context of balance of payments. The current account in case of India is fully convertible, and capital account is partially convertible. And there is a reason behind this. RBI basically says that I do not want to make it fully convertible, that is in the context of the capital account, because any kind of international disruption, global disruption, it will have a huge impact on India's forex market as well as the stock market as well as bond market. So, in order to control the volatility, we have not yet allowed full capital account convertibility. But having said so, it doesn't mean that RBI as well as Government of India are not taking any kind of reforms. RBI very often has been stating this. The full capital account convertibility will be a process, not an event. That is, slowly and steadily we are moving towards the full capital account convertibility. Do not expect that overnight complete system will be revamped. So argument is very simple here. With these kind of reforms, we are going to promote easier convertibility. We are going to promote, right, easier utilization of rupees in the domestic market, which are held by the foreign investors. And the third very important announcement is that multiple currencies earlier, the exchange rate was not directly announced. What do you mean by that? Rupee to dollar, right? This exchange rate would be announced. Now, dollar will be used as a link currency with a third currency, right? So now dollar to the third currency will be exchange rate will be there. Using these two exchange rates, we would basically provide an exchange rate for Indian rupee with the third currency. Now, Reserve Bank of India has expanded the list of direct conversions. That is, RBI is announcing direct exchanges between rupee and this particular third currency. And if you're wondering what is the impact of this, rather than using dollar as a link currency, which meant that now I'll have to convert rupee to dollar, dollar to the third currency. Rather than this, I can directly convert rupee to the third currency. So this kind of a reform has been announced. That is, a direct exchange rates also have been announced by Reserve Bank of India for more foreign currencies, which is expected to promote direct conversions, which is expected to reduce the cost of conversion, etc. So these are certain very important reforms that have been announced by RBI in recent times to promote the rupee settlement, rupee internationalization. Now, associated with this, let's solve an MCQ. Which of the following are likely outcomes of rupee internationalization? RBI will have to hold higher forex reserves? No. With rupee internationalization, RBI will be able to hold less, or in fact, the reliance on holding forex reserves will be eliminated. Indian economy will become a closed economy. No. In fact, the integration of Indian economy to the global market will improve. Lower trade transaction cost. Yes, you do not have to convert rupee to a foreign currency now. If rupee is an international currency, you can buy and sell where you will either pay or accept basically rupees. So you don't have to convert into a foreign currency. Hence, the trade transaction cost will become lower. Third one is correct. Right option is only one of the three are the likely outcomes. Now, next article, Unclaimed shares portal set for another upgrade. What is the important point here? Listen to me carefully. There is always a concern that certain shares, certain, let's say, bonds or even bank deposits go unclaimed. Unclaimed means what? the original owners of these instruments do not go to the issuer and claim the money. For example, what if there is certain amount of dividend? I repeat, there is certain amount of dividend that is lying unclaimed. Some of you might be thinking, sir, how can it remain unclaimed? For example, the person who owns the share might have passed away, or the person who owns the share might have forgotten. There are multiple instances where I may not remember how many shares of which company as well as the dividends that I should claim. I might have forgotten it. Or the shareholder might have passed away. So, what if certain number of shares or the dividends are not claimed in the market? According to the SEBI guidelines, please understand this. According to the SEBI guidelines, whenever these there are unclaimed shares as well as the dividends, if these remain unclaimed for 7 years, if these are unclaimed for 7 years, now these would be transferred. That is, the money would be transferred into an account called as, or the authority called as IEPFA. IEPFA, which stands for Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority. Protection Fund Authority. This authority functions under Ministry of Commerce. Please remember this. Ministry of Commerce. So the contention is very simple. Huge amount of money in the form of shares as well as the dividends are remaining unclaimed. And all of these have been transferred into this authority, IEPFA. Now, the authority has launched an integrated portal. Please remember this. It has launched an integrated portal. Now, the second version of the integrated portal will be launched, which will help or which will make it easier for the shareholders or the let's say the people who have basically the rights over let's say the people who have passed away who owned shares. That is the claimants or the heirs. So the authority has set up a new integrated portal. Using this particular integrated portal, the unclaimed shares as well as the dividends can be easily claimed now. So this is one more update associated with let's say the unclaimed amount in the market. Now the last article in this session, Golden Quadrilateral 2.0. What is this idea? Listen to me carefully. The government of India has been promoting basically development of infrastructure, and specifically under infrastructure it has been promoting development of national highways, that is roads as well as railways, in addition to other forms of infrastructure. But one concern associated with the national highways has been that even though we have huge network of national highways in the Indian market, the traffic that is there on the national highways is higher. The amount of vehicles which are there are higher, which will basically add to the delays in transportation, which might be concerning in the context of even the safety or the security of the individuals who are traveling using the national highways. So now Government of India has been considering, or it is considering, Golden Quadrilateral 2.0. Now why they are calling this as a 2.0? Simple. Earlier, back in the year 1998, the Government of India proposed East-West Corridor, North-South Corridor. And again, in the year 2001, the Government of India proposed Golden Quadrilateral. Basically, this was proposed when Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. And what these infrastructure or road networks basically did was they promoted easier transportation throughout India. Government of India now says we will be proposing Golden Quadrilateral 2.0, wherein multiple expressways would be built parallel to the corridors which are already existing. Multiple expressways, basically these are also types of highways which will have let's say controlled access in terms of let's say entry as well as exit, and there will be control over the traffic which will be using these expressways. So these expressways under Golden Quadrilateral 2.0 would be constructed, which will run parallel to the existing corridors, which will help people or let's say even the transporters a parallel road network, thereby reducing the traffic on the national highways. So, this is a proposal which is being considered by the Government of India. Keep your eyes open regarding the final announcement of GQ 2.0. So, these are the various articles as well as the questions I wanted to discuss in today's session. Before I wind up, a lot of you face issues in terms of mains answer writing. In the last month, I've already taken two special classes. I repeat, two special classes under the initiative of Economy for Mains. This month, the upcoming Saturday or the coming Saturday from 11 to 1, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., I'm taking one more session in this initiative of Economy for Mains. Again, this is a special class free for all. But I've got only one condition here. Condition is I've uploaded certain compilation of articles which are relevant for mainly the mains examination. I want you people to read those articles. Come prepared for the session, and then I'll give you a, let's say, a short discussion on these topics and a question for you to practice answer writing, and then I'll tell you what should be the model answer. You can compare and then understand what is the level of the mains answer writing practice you've had and what are the areas you're supposed to work on. Do not miss out. It's a special class. It is free for everyone. 11 to 1 p.m. Saturday. The link for this class is given in my Telegram channel, as well as it will be uploaded in the description of this particular video. See you all on Saturday 11 a.m. Right, that's all from my side in this session. See you again next week with another set of economy related articles. See you till then. Take care.